Hey, I'm Hannah Weiss, the Education Manager at the Science Museum of Western Virginia, and this is your Moment of STEM. And this week, we're going to talk about ecosystems and food webs. See, I've been going through a lot of my stuff, and I just recently came across this book called The Little Old Ladies Who Liked Cats that I loved as a kid. See, in this book, there's this island, and on the island, there's a town that has a really strong navy. And the town has this really strong navy because they're able to drink a lot of really good milk. And there's good milk because the cows are able to eat sweet clover. And there's sweet clover because there are bees that are able to pollinate it. And the bees are able to pollinate the clover because there are no field mice eating their honeycomb. And there are no field mice eating their honeycomb because there are cats on the island that chase these mice away. And the cats are owned by these little old ladies who like cats and let them out at night. However, in the story, one night, the mayor trips over one of the cats and demands that they not be let out at night, which means that they're not around to chase the mice away. And if they can't chase the mice away, there's nothing keeping them from eating the honeycomb, so there's no good clover, so there's no good milk, and the navy gets really weak. And with the navy so weak, the island is taken over. Now, in the story, it all ends well. The little old ladies are able to convince the mayor to let their cats back out at night. And with their cats out chasing the mice, there's no mice eating the honeycomb, so the bees can pollinate the clover. With the clover, there's good milk. The navy gets strong and is able to chase the invading pirates away. However, even though this is a really, really silly kind of story, it does explain these two very, very important concepts: ecosystems and food chains or food webs. See, a food chain, what that is it traces the way energy and nutrients move through kind of a system, from plants to the animals that eat plants to the animals that eat those animals. And an ecosystem is all of these food chains, all of these food webs, kind of stacked on top of each other, plus the environment that they live in. These are really, really carefully balanced systems. One change can have a huge, huge effect, just as we see in the story. However, it's also something that happens in real life. Just recently, there was this really interesting article published about the Atwater prairie chicken. So these chickens used to be incredibly, incredibly numerous. But in about the late 80s, their population crashed, and no one was quite sure why. In fact, their population crashed so hard, so much, that there are only about 19 left in the wild. And they were immediately brought into a captive breeding program, and they did pretty well. However, when they started releasing some of these chicks, they found that they were dying, and they weren't sure why. Until they did a soil survey. They looked at the soil, and they found out that, aside from fire ants, there weren't a whole lot of insects, not a whole lot of arthropods in this soil. And the chicks needed those insects and arthropods to survive. But fire ants are invasive. They're not native to the area. And since they're not native, they weren't seen by these chicks, by these Atwater's prairie chickens, as a source of food. This little change had a huge impact. The population crashed. So, researchers kind of explored and found this non-toxic ant killer that they put in the area. And they're hoping by doing that, they'll be able to increase the insect and arthropod population so that the chicks will have something to eat and their populations will rebound. One change, adding that non-toxic ant killer, hopefully will have a really huge positive effect. And that's one of the really cool things about ecosystems. Little changes like that can propagate, can spread in really big ways. Now, oftentimes, these changes can have really negative effects, like with the invasive fire ants. But they can also do really, really positive things, really, really good things, like hopefully having that ant killer will do. So, little changes can have big, big impacts. I'm Hannah Weiss from the Science Museum of Western Virginia, and I'm wondering what changes we can make.